Yo, 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 happy holidays. You got Trending Down coming at you for a little holiday episode, if you will. Today's going to be a little different one. We're going to discuss the structure of the pod going forward into 2024. Hopefully the golden bull run that we're all been hoping and praying for. And then just talk about the market real quick and stuff like that. But how we doing, brother?
Doing good. Feels good to be back. It's holiday season.
It's always nice. Like you can't hate on the holidays. And we know a person very close to this podcast who is kind of a curmudgeon, if you will.
Like the Grinch per se.
Per se. And I think if you are tuned in, you know exactly who we're talking about. So shout out to them.
It's hard. It's hard to be in a bad mood when you have lights everywhere. Things are lit up. Everyone's in this joyous kind of giving mood. It's awesome.
Oh, it's great. And then people get time off. And that's really the best part.
So should we start giving the people some content here?
Yeah, we should. Okay. Speaking of time off and then also time on, do you want to tell people about the structure we've decided on for 2024 so that, you know, they're a little more aware of what to expect out of us and not these like kind of sporadic one-offs?
Yeah. So we decided 2024, if this all plays well, it's a year of the Golden Bull, as Ethersole said. So we wanted to come pretty heavy with the podcast and get you guys the info on a consistent schedule. We're looking at 2 30-minute segments a week with a possible bonus segment on Friday if we can make this overarching picture work well together.
Beautiful. And I think the Friday episode is going to be like a quick 5-6 minute pod, one topic each. Maybe that's like the hot new narrative of the week or something.
That'll be the ideal setup for it. Just something you can tune into and say, hey, I've had a busy week. I couldn't catch the 2 earlier pods. What's the most important thing I need to know this week? And you just listen to that little 5-minute guy.
Yeah. And I think the 30 minutes have been good, super digestible, and it's just better for us. So that's what we're going to do. But yeah, that's basically what we're going to start off 2024 like. You can expect content throughout that whole year. I mean, if you look back, and I mean, someone else should do this, not us, but just count the amount of high conviction X's, multiples that we've called. I mean, it speaks for itself.
It really does. And, you know, we have, like you said, not us, because we've done it. We've looked at these, but no one will believe us saying it. Of course, we're going to kind of toot our own horn and say, hey, this podcast is delivering you the stuff you need, but you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah. And again, seeing a ton of podcasts come out, which is all good. Like the more the merrier. And with a ton of new users, hopefully coming into the space next year and things really picking up, the content definitely needs to be out there more often than not. Like the hour and a half, 1 week is just not going to cut it. I think the smaller is going to provide dividends for pretty much everyone. Hopefully.
Yeah, you know, the hour and a half segment was fun, but if we did an hour and a half guy on a Tuesday and something big happened on Wednesday and our next one was scheduled for Friday, you've missed that play. We can't get that to you.
Yeah, we're looking to bring as many plays as possible. And again, like there's probably going to be like a degen type section and then there's like, you know, a more thesis based section. So there'll be plenty of opportunities out there. I mean, again, like it's been nice the past, I don't know, I guess a month, maybe 2 months, seeing some price action. It's funny, the podcast, if you overlay it on a total crypto market cap, literally time the bottom again? ?
It's kind of amazing. You wonder how they do it. Like, what do we know? And we're trying to tell people.
I mean, trending down is literally the reverse curse. And again, ETH has been doing whatever it's doing. I felt like it needed a little juice. So the boys hopped back on the mic before the new year. And, you know, we got to close the year off strong. So had to do it for the culture one time.
So how do you feel about ETH going into the new year? And what are you looking at outside of that? I know we've talked Sol a decent amount.
Yeah. So that's a big topic right now, right? Like ETH versus Solana. Obviously, again, in the past couple of months or so, you've seen ETH kind of lagging a little bit. Obviously, it was a great trade from lower, but, you know, AVAX and Solana really just sent. And some of these newer coins, Injective and Tia, Celestia, are really doing, just ripping. People like the new shiny stuff. But I think the overarching theme especially on Twitter, has been like this ETH versus Solana. And it's interesting to me. I mean, you and I cooked on Solana last year, or I guess last cycle rather, but I don't know, like to fade it seems unwise, especially with the amount of hate that's going back and forth between like ETH maxis and I guess newly found Solana maxis.
Yeah. The hate in my mind has always been free publicity. Nothing
True.
gets on the timeline faster and further than someone trying to bash something. Everyone shares it, and then suddenly you're thinking, how much is happening in that ecosystem? Should I poke around? Maybe it's not going to be the coin people are hating on, like some meme coin or some project, but the word Solana gets everywhere suddenly.
Yeah, and of course, in hindsight, should have bought that like FTX like debacle on the lows. I think it hit $8. I mean, now we're at 70 plus on Solana, so clearly that was an amazing trade. Missed it, is what it is. But I don't think you can ignore the attention it's getting right now, especially when a meme coin sends like Bonk. Bonk literally was airdropped last Christmas, I believe last Christmas, or maybe last cycle sometime. To developers and diehards on Solana, and it just kind of did nothing for a long time. And then in 2 to 3 weeks, it pulled literally a Pepe and hit like 2.5 bill, got listed on Coinbase. That type of stuff rallies people to come back to the crypto markets. So that's great for all of us, including Ethereum and everything. But like having that in your ecosystem really does massive things for you, especially as far as attention goes.
Oh, absolutely. And I've got more than a few messages about Bonk specifically. I got a text message yesterday about Bonk from someone who I didn't even know was in crypto.
Are they in crypto or are they like a normie?
Apparently they're both.
Okay.
Apparently both.
We like that.
But they loved Bonk.
I mean, who doesn't love Bonk? It's hilarious. It's a dog with a bat. Speaking of dogs with bats, why not the dog with the hat? That's what we're doing on Solana right now. It's just shit coins after shit coins, and it's great. So going back to the debate though, ETH, it's been around. It's been tested. It's basically Lindy as fuck, if you will. Solana's new. There's gonna be hacks. There's gonna be you're gonna lose money here and there, but there's also a lot of upside potential, especially because people are fading it. But I think the biggest debate topic is the fees. ETH right now, if you start, if the network really starts getting used, you're paying like $50 to $200 to swap a coin on Uniswap. Right now, Solana, I mean, it's below a fucking penny, like
Yeah.
decimals of a penny. So you have someone with $500, which I mean, all intents and purposes, that's a good amount of money like today for some people, like let's be real. And they're willing to risk it in the crypto markets, right? Like a lot of people, again, super fortunate to be in a position we're in, but some people are not, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, et cetera. You can't just drop $200 in fees when you're trying to buy $500 worth of a meme coin. I mean, they're going to immediately be like, what the fuck? I just got fleeced. So
Absolutely.
There is merit to that fee argument per se.
Yeah, and I think that is where a lot of Solana and AVAX's power comes from, is you have a much larger pool of users that can come in and say, hey, I would rather pay 50 cents for a transaction than $8 when the network is not being used and it's not congested. And that makes sense to me. We were paying thousands of dollars for transactions at the peak of Ethereum, and we weren't even thinking about it. We're like, oh, It's fine. It's just how it has to work, and the money I get out in the end is going to be better. But even if Solana is at its peak congestion, the network might go down, but you're not going to be paying thousands of dollars in transaction fees, and that is what people are loving.
It's truly a sight to see. Again, I think you're spot on with people are going to pay it again on Ethereum. Like we're going to have a crazy run. People are going to be aping a ton in gas fees, and it's just going to be what it is. Obviously they have layer twos like Arbitrum, Optimism and stuff to help that type of thing, but there's still friction there because you have to bridge to that. And it's not like a meme coin that's on Ethereum is going to play well on Arbitrum. We saw it with Pepe. Like people tried to bridge Pepe over to Arbitrum, and there was like a price difference, but there was not a lot of volume on Arbitrum, even though the fees were way, way less. So it doesn't really work like that. Again, like DeFi 2020 summer, people were aping insane amounts on gas fees. I'm talking half ETH, full ETH, just to make sure. I mean, even NFTs, we've seen it. Like during these mints, people, the other side mint, let's not even talk about it.
That's what I was thinking about.
But again, like the masses, when you talk about huge global adoption, people in other countries, not even about the paycheck to paycheck, people in other countries, like they're talking $50. Like that is a lot of money. And you cannot work with that on Ethereum. It's just plain and simple, period.
So do we think Solana has a long-term lifespan here? Yeah, absolutely. Will it rival the price of ETH? Probably not. If it does, I'd be shocked. But you don't really want to look at things of price to price. $2,000 coin, $200 coin, it's not the same thing. You're looking at the market cap. If you buy it at $80, it goes to 200. Hey, that's like a 2.5x.
Exactly.
That's like going to 5K.
It's one of those things where this cycle, you could probably see Solana come close to flipping ETH and seeing that become a huge narrative. But the second it comes close is when you sell, obviously, because the flipping is always one of those things that could happen, probably won't happen type deal. And again, ETH is tested. Like the big boy money is not going to be, putting tons and tons of their money into DeFi protocols on Solana. It's just not been battle tested enough. So that ETH has that going for it, right? Like the security, the finality of ETH feels very comfy. And that's why if you're sending like large amounts of stable coins, you're probably going to choose ETH, especially if you're an institution. So Don't get me wrong, like bullish ETH, but I think there is this base case for Solana where, the fees thing makes sense. And when you talk about the masses, that's going to apply or appeal to them, a lot.
Now, do we think like Bitcoin and Ethereum have had ETFs come into the picture in the last few months? Do we see Solana getting that same treatment in the near future? And what about AVAX?
I don't see why not. I think there's definitely like once the floodgates open, but we've also seen the SEC talk about how Bitcoin and ETH are technically like the only ones that are not securities. And like ETH is a little bit of a question mark because Gary's trying to be a cuck. But end of the day, those are the two ones that they've basically come out and been like, look, we're chill with these two. The rest, I don't know. Because okay, so here's the bullshit part. Solana was delisted from Robinhood and they market sold users Solana. So if you had Solana on Robinhood and you just forgot about it, they sold it for you at like $20, I want to say, maybe even less.
Jesus.
Which is such horseshit. Like I use Robinhood here and there to buy crypto, and I was like, you know what? Let me just buy Solana, and it was not on there because the SEC thinks it's a security. So that cucked me out of getting a super dope entry. GG. Thank you, Gary, for the protection. So I don't know. Like an AVAX ETF would be hilarious to me, especially like the stories we hear around there. And by the way, did you see the gas the other day on AVAX? It was 2 times the price of ETH. It was $500 to make a transaction because everyone's doing those like inscriptions.
Oh my gosh, we're back on that again.
Yeah, and so that broke Arbitrum. Arbitrum was down for 3 hours because they were doing
Arbitrum or AVAX?
Arbitrum.
Oh,
it broke it. It was $150 per transaction during that time. AVAX, which I initially mentioned, was like $500 a transaction, but it didn't break it. And so, everyone's doing these inscriptions, like, no wasted block space type thing on every chain. And it's breaking all the EVM chains.
Yeah. And it's something that just doesn't need to happen, if we're being completely honest.
No.
It's, you're going to make, like if you're playing the inscription narrative, you're playing the inscription game and you said, oh, my buddy made a 10x, a 20x here. You're not going to make a bag on those in the long term. It's going to be like an NFT where in a week, it might double, it might triple, it might 5x. In a month, it's probably going to -10. In a year, it's going to do worse.
Exactly. They're not going anywhere. But it's a hot new narrative, and it
really
shut down
is.
Every chain, which is hilarious.
The whole narrative thing is kind of what crypto is at its core. Is people hate to narrative chase, but narrative chasing is what will always win.
Exactly. And right now it's a hot ball of money chasing narratives. And you may feel like everyone's just catching nothing but W's right now. That's not the case. It's like people who are well positioned, we're hitting big wins, but for the most part, like it's in pockets. I think when it's true, like ape season, it's on CNBC, all this stuff, everything full sends. You can't miss. So we're not there yet.
Right.
But
it's like 2021,
you have to go
right?
narratives. Exactly.
In 2021, I was in bed shooting transactions off on my phone on like the MetaMask mobile app on some DGen wallet in random coins, and they would all hit. It was just a different world. And when we get there again, it's probably going to be bigger this time.
Oh, much bigger. And like, again, I think that's why you got to look at things like the Solana trade where I'm not necessarily going to buy Solana, but I'm definitely going to have money over there and like be aping the hot new coin, because the amount of people that can is probably bigger than the amount of people that can on ETH.
Correct.
You have things like Base, though, the layer 2 that Coinbase put out. That's probably going to be massive. It's going to catch a rotation like no other because it's Coinbase, and they're going to push that, and it's going to be easy.
And they will probably push it when the bull starts running. They'll get confirmation of the bull probably 3-4 months in and say, this is the time. Send the BD teams out. Let's start pushing Base. Because Coinbase is doing it for their stock price end of the day. They don't have the ability to make these mistakes and say, hey, here's a big product for us. If it flops, that's okay. No, they need to hit on these things.
Yeah, they've done it before, right? The NFT launch, like, see you later. So they're not trying to do that again.
No, they were too late on that one. This one, they were early. They had this out the door. They have people using it, and now I feel like they're biding their time.
Oh, it's lined up perfectly for them. And that's going to be a theme, honestly, throughout this. It's a good point you raise. People have been sandbagging major launches, and those aren't going to come out until like we're 3 months into the bull run. And you're going to see it, and they're going to send hard, even though people are going to FUD it because, VCs this, VCs that, huge unlocks this, huge unlocks that. The new shiny coins always do well.
Yep. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson to go into 2024 with is just because the timeline's FUDding something doesn't mean you should ignore it. It probably means you should look at it.
Yeah. And
at the very minimum, look at it.
That was kind of my mistake with Solana round 2. Like, again, we were on that last cycle. Like, we were deep in the trenches. And then once I got all my money off, I was like, all right, see ya. Like, FTX overhang, SBF, the whole thing. The founder was a kook on Twitter. It was like all that. But there was definitely going to be a round 2, and this whole fee narrative, I should have immediately been like, wait, I hate paying these large gas fees, but we just do it because we're so like accustomed to it. And again, when you're explaining it to someone like a friend who's, maybe not super deep in crypto, they're like, dude, what the fuck? Like, why am I paying $200 for a transaction? You're like, bro, it's just chalk it up to the game, chalk it up to like, it's all part of the thing. You're going to make 5x, 10x, who cares? And that will happen again. But again, like, it doesn't appease and appeal to those people with just the $200, like, who can't afford those fees. So you got to play both sides of the field. There's no point in being a maxi.
I agree. Maxis, they win in the long run, but it takes a long time. You can be a leaf in the wind type of maxi and be a maxi of this one day and that the next day, and you will print multiples first.
Yeah. And again, like, the reason they became maxis is because they were super early, and now they're like, the biggest supporters were the ones who were early, and they were the most wealthy. So there's going to be people who would just never move off it. Bitcoin maxis, they missed ETH. Now they're missing Sol. Like, ETH maxis, now they're missing Sol. It's like, it's a cycle that's going to repeat itself. Now Solana maxis will be like, oh, who cares about this new coin, whatever, because, Solana's the GOAT. And like, they'll defend it because they made it off of that. So it's like, the winners, though, if you're just fluid, you're popping around to each chain and doing your thing.
Right. I think that's the really good point there is you mentioned earlier, just having money on Sol. You don't even need to have Sol. You can have stables over there. Whatever, you could have Ethereum over there. Bitcoin, doesn't matter. Have it wrapped. As long as it's there and available. So if you see something you need to buy, you can say, okay, here's the transaction. I'm in.
And like,
The fun part with Sol is that To be a whale on Ethereum, you got to have a lot of Ethereum. You got to have a lot of money in it. If
Oh
the
my God.
average
Yeah.
transaction size on Solana is, say, I don't know, let's call it $100, because fees are lower. We believe the audience is a wider demographic of people that may not have the most money compared to like an ETH whale. You could probably whale into a coin for a few $1,000s.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, people on Solana right now are literally moving money around like it's nothing, and they're taking like $5 profits. That's not going to happen on ETH. It's hilarious. It's hilarious to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
I
it's just
love it.
one of those things. You gotta be fluid, and like whether it's innovative or not, it's coming. So like, for example, Solana is going to run back every big Ethereum DeFi protocol, or just rather protocol in general. Like you have Blur, you have Lido, all these big guys on ETH. They're going to be the same thing on Solana, but different coins. And you've already seen how that plays out. So you kind of have the roadmap for, you can farm all these airdrops that are coming. And when these airdrops hit, it's just a massive stimmy to the whole freaking ecosystem. So it's like this flywheel that just keeps going and going. Like people get this stimmy from an airdrop, they'll buy Solana, that goes up, then all the lower coins go up because people start aping shitters. I mean, it's just like this flywheel that keeps going. And right now, there's just not a lot to do there. And so these protocols that have been building throughout the bear that haven't launched tokens yet are just going to start spraying tokens across that ecosystem.
Oh yeah.
And it's just going to, create this nice feedback loop. Now, again, I'm being like super bullish Solana, but like, I'm not even that deep over there yet. I'm just saying like, it's something you can't ignore.
I think you're spot on. It's dumb to ignore anything at this stage. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, credit when credit's due. Or
Yeah,
given the
you can't.
2022 phrase of CT was just, I'm giving you some flowers, I'm just giving you your flowers.
Oh man, are we bringing that back?
No, we're not. I'm glad that's gone.
Okay. Yeah. It's funny to watch all this stuff play out again though. And like, I haven't seen a ton of like normies come back yet. Have you?
No, it's a slow trickle. They're starting to ask about it, but I don't think they're fully back until probably June. I would say June.
Wow. Yeah. And the thing that I've seen is it's mainly people who stepped away, but made a good amount, or at least participated in last cycle, but generally made a good amount. Because if you made a good amount, you have a positive outlook on the space and you're willing to come back. The people who got burned are probably going to come back like later. But it's funny to see some of the quote unquote alpha discords or whatever start to get like a little more lively again.
Yeah, it was actually kind of fun to watch the trend line of those discords and kind of like take an emotional heartbeat from them, because at the bear, it was down, it was bad. They were giving out announcements of like, hey, we're out here trying, we're putting our best foot forward, we're not going to give up. And now it's like the vibes are kind of back. They're like, hey, we're printing X's, come join us, let's all make money.
It's hilarious. I mean, again, like these protocols that are giving out points, it's the same thing as like people coming back. Now these points things, and like they're going to have to start giving out tokens sooner or later. So if you think it's late, you're definitely early if this is the Valhalla golden bull run that we all think. I mean, you got the ETF, you got the halvening, there's plenty of narratives out there. So
There are.
you could definitely make a discussion for it, especially with rates and all that going on. But
Yeah. Do you think that we've seen this for, I think, the past 2 cycles now? We've ran the same exact plays every single time as an ecosystem. Mm-hmm. The projects that were tried and tested 3 cycles ago were brought back 2 cycles ago, and they were brought back last cycle. Do you think they all come back again? Are we going to see the same kind of Ponzi schemes that we know fail, the same 3-3 mantras?
that's a great question. Hopefully there's a new one. There usually always is one new one, right? And then that's the one you want to be in. No one knows what it is right now. But when you spot these older ones, exactly, the first new one you have to jump into, and it won't look like a Ponzi, right? You won't really
look like
know
a death pool. It'll look like you're going to lose all your money in 25 minutes.
It'll look so dumb that you kind of have to do it. So like you got to turn down the IQ level a little bit coming up here. But yeah, I think they're definitely going to try and run back all the narratives. I mean, literally last cycle we had the OHM on Solana, and like we printed off that. So do I think it's going to happen again? Yeah, especially on all these other chains, like again, like Injective, Celestia, like they're all going to have their own mini Ponzi cycles, because it's just too easy not to. Like, will I chase every single one? No, because that's dumb.
But maybe.
But I'll try and hit as many as I can.
There's definitely a mentality I get in where if something hasn't happened in enough time, maybe it's been a day and I'm just bored and I see the most degen stupid thing on a chain I've never been to, there's a good chance I'm going to play with it.
Might as well.
Yeah, that burns me more than it doesn't. But in the sense of, will I chase these random plays that happen on weird chains? There's a place. There's a time and a place.
Again, you have Bitcoin DeFi kind of like taking off right now, quote unquote. So that'll be extremely interesting, because I don't know how the fees are going to go with that and like all that type of stuff. Like, imagine an ohm on Bitcoin.
I'd buy it. If it's the first one, I'm in.
Yeah. People out there have way too much money.
Right.
And they're going to play around with it because, again, the maxis always support their own ecosystem. Again, it goes back to like, so now we're seeing meme coins. It's so cringe, but like now we're seeing after Bonk, we're seeing meme coins being spun up, or rather backed by like the main. So like Injective, like they had a coin called Ninja come out, which was like supposed to be their Bonk, and like the actual Twitter account for Injective, like the main one, is like retweeting it and being like, you can't spell Inj without ninja or whatever. You have Arbitrum doing like the founder's cat, and I mean, bruh, it's just so cringe, but they're realizing like you get a fuck ton of attention and users if a meme coin sends. Again, the best marketing in this game is number go up.
Absolutely. Do you think it's a bad look, or maybe even a bad sign for a net like Arbitrum or Solana or whoever it is, Injective, to push their own meme coin? Does that take away from the
I feel like you have to do it a little, right? I feel like you have to do it a little like more subtle. And it's not hard to be like less out there with it, like full blown pushing and shoving it down people's throats. That's not going to work. These
that
things
comes off
happen
to me like it's X liquidity. Like their books look bad. They need funding. What if we just launch a coin that has a 5% fee and it's a meme and we push it from the main Twitter? That's how it comes off to me.
Right. And like, there's one thing if you airdrop it to everyone and then use a ton of your own capital to pump it to the fucking heavens, and now people are flooding over. Like, that to me is a better play, and you don't even need to retweet it from your own Twitter, right? You just give it to all your ecosystem users, airdrop it to everyone. It's the same play that Bonk did. It just took 2 years to play out.
Right.
You know, you had people buying the fucking Solana phones with Bonk on it. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous, but
I was reading an article about that literally 10 minutes ago when you mentioned Bonk.
Yeah.
I said in my head, wasn't there a Solana phone thing that happened with Bonk? And there's all these articles talking about it. They're paying 2, 3, 4K for the phone to get the Bonk off it.
Bro, you know what's ridiculous is that, I don't know if he did it or not, but Sisyphus is just everywhere. The guy's insane. If you don't know him, kind of a scammer, but also just an absolute degen and like super deep in the ecosystem and makes good plays. Very controversial though. He had a tweet literally a month ago saying that he bought all the Solana phones.
What?
Bro, the wherewithal, because one, the people were speculating they're going to get more airdrops, you know, all this stuff, but they are loaded with Bonk, and the Bonk was enough to pay for the phone itself. But that didn't happen until the Coinbase listing. He apparently put out a tweet. I mean, who knows if he actually did, but I mean, the foresight there is insane.
Yeah, that's a little eerie.
Yeah, the guy's everywhere, man. The guy's everywhere. But I definitely think more and more people are going to push these meme coins on their ecosystems. They just have to be less cringe.
I do too. I kind of think Sisyphus has some info somebody else didn't have back at that time. And no one says, let me buy all the Solana phones because this will be funny. He knew something.
Yeah, exactly. But
we respect
either way, yeah, respect it, right? Can't knock it. But I mean, shit, we're coming up on 30 minutes here. Not to cut it short, but I mean, nice little holiday pod with the boys, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it was a good one. And we kind of went deeper than I thought we would.
I did too. I feel like we got a lot of content out there in 30 minutes, and it's a short, digestible commute, listen.
And I think we can get another one out this week before like the real holidays. Obviously, for people who celebrate Christmas and stuff, and then you get the New Year's, it's going to be tough that week. But maybe one more this week, and then hit the new year super hard with the new format that we discussed earlier. And just deliver you guys like nonstop content is kind of the goal.
Well, it's time to deliver the goal now.
It's time to deliver. That's always the toughest part, right? We can just put it on paper and say it out loud, but delivering is always another level. I mean, what if we did like here and there, like a COD Zombies with some listeners? Maybe stream?
Ooh, a little Twitch guy? I think that'd be fun.
That'd be fun as fuck, dude.
I know the producer's been pushing for that. It's a unique new content platform he's talking about. An intellectual and a degen and a fun side to it.
You have to, take a little time away from the screens during the bull market too, because it's going to be mayhem.
Honestly, I think that's where I went wrong last cycle is I never put anything down.
Right.
By the time the bear hit, by the time FTX imploded, I was so burnt out.
Which honestly is how it should be though, right? Because you need to take advantage of every single opportunity. I mean, bro, we're going to go down a whole another rabbit hole here. So.
Yeah, we can't do this. Next time.
Next episode. Okay. Honestly, again, anyone who's here listening, we appreciate you. Ride with us into this next bull. I promise it'll be worth it. Hopefully it already has been. I don't got much more to say. So, we'll catch you on the next one.
See you next time.
Peace.